To the podium for the Pacific Alliance in Winnipeg, the gymnasts reach the midway point as they prepare for 2000 and the Sydney Olympics. When searching for the epicenter of gymnastics world domination, certain geographic sectors have been targeted as hot zones. Historically, success is locked in on the Eastern Bloc, Russia, Romania, the former Soviet republics. But there are aggressors on the rim, so long as sleeping giant China. Japan is also a factor, as is the island continent of Australia, a Pacific alliance to challenge the traditional powers. Let's call them the Pack. 12 nations breaking new ground in gymnastics' evolving world order. China, fueled with power by the hearts of lions, and blessed with a graceful beauty no longer in disguise. The Australians, gymnastics' new world, and a fresh home for Russian Andrei Kratsov. New borders for him to expand a new destiny. Yes, there's a new spin on gym, different destinations. North America, the US and Canada, part of the pack. The American men have battled close to the Olympic podium and are on the brink of victory yet again. Their Canadian rivals have centralized forces, building steam to defend a Commonwealth crown. Meantime, the women in red and white will take a courageous legacy to the Games in Kuala Lumpur. But first, a gathering of the pack, a treaty to test the next Pan American Games city. A dozen nations searching for center stage at the Pacific Alliance Gymnastics Championships in the heart of the Manitoba capital. The venerable Winnipeg Arena in Manitoba's capital city, smack in the middle of North America, but for now, home to the Pacific Alliance. It's a gathering force in the field of gymnastics as some of the best in the world test the waters of next year's Pan American Games venue. Well, the Games in Winnipeg are just over a year away, and the people of this city are raring to go. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Scott Russell, as always, joined by Carol Orchard. It's not Russia, it's not Romania, but it's a very deep and impressive field from another part of the world in the middle of a busy and competitive season.
Scott, there are no shadows from Eastern Europe looming over these athletes. The Pacific nations are very strong, and they're taking this competition incredibly seriously in preparation for Commonwealth Games and the upcoming World Championships in China. Now,
Carol, in today's show, we'll see individual all-around competition as well as the team event in both the men's and the women's side. And for that event, Canadian champion Katie Rowland is warming up right now.
17-year-old Katie Rowland, lovely athlete from Winston Gymnastic Club, an innovative style all her own.
How about the men in a very deep field, as we said, including the United States and the Americans have sent their very best to Winnipeg?
Scott, it's this simple. The Americans are here to win, and losing is not an option. They're being led by Blaine Wilson, very confident, very determined athlete. Right now, he's the only gymnast in the entire world that's receiving a full 10-point start value on every event. That means his routines are very hot. But it won't be an easy win. China looks great, very innovative as always, and they're being led by the dynamic twin duo, Zhao Zhu and Zhao Shen. Unbelievable tricks.
Let's turn our attention to the Canadian men, a very important meet for them, what with the Commonwealth Games coming up in Malaysia in just a couple of months, but they've got some injury problems to contend with.
A lot of problems. Unfortunately, one of the brightest stars, Alexander Jelkov, is out of the competition. He sustained a back injury 2 weeks ago. So veterans Kris, Burley, Richard Ikeda knew they'd have to step up to the plate and deliver the goods for Team Canada. But now even more pressure on their shoulders. Unfortunately, Canadian star, Canadian champion Peter Schmid had a very bad fall from high bar just 2 days ago training here in Winnipeg, and he's out.
So a bad break for the Canadian champion Peter Schmid of Burlington, Ontario. He's on the sidelines today, where he is joined right now by our Karen Larson. Karen.
Thanks, Scott. Well, Peter, this was to be your first international meet competing as a Canadian champion. It's not going to happen. Disappointed?
Not fully, no. Good field of competitors. I'm disappointed that I won't be able to compete with them, but it'd be better not to re-injure my side in preparation for the Commonwealth Games.
What is the prognosis for the injury?
It's a strain of the external obliques, so basically a sore side.
Didn't it slow you down in your preparations for the Commonwealth Games?
A little bit. Figure about a week longer, and I should be in tip-top shape, ready to go.
All right. Well, let's hope for a speedy recovery. Okay. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you very
Back
much.
to you, Scott.
Karen, an ominous sign for Canada. Here's what's coming up. Australian women on the rise with the help of new coach Peggy Liddick. Carol Angela talks about the balance of power in Chalk Talk. We'll meet China's twin threat, and of course plenty of competition beginning with the men's. And first up, 23-year-old Richard Ikeda of Canada on the parallel bars.
This is a great place for Richard to start one of his best events. You're going to notice throughout the entire routine he has such a clean, impeccable line. Everything that he does has such style about it. And Richard knows that this is an important competition. He doesn't actually feel the pressure of the big stars not being here. He wants to do his job for Canada, and he did exactly that. That was a great start for Team Canada.
6 World Championship appearances for Richard Ikeda. Another look at the P-bars.
He doesn't have the huge tricks, so his start value will be about 9.4, but boy, he doesn't give away any deductions. It's almost perfect.
And he scores well, 9.050, as the British Columbian gets Canada started. Now we go to the floor exercise and the American veteran, 28-year-old John Roethlisberger.
Scott, just the fact that the Americans have put him up first is a statement. They are here to win. A veteran up first, going hard for USA. Ooh, an uncharacteristic fall for John. I think he was very rushed. The warm-up has just completed. To be first up on floor, you need to be focused and ready and rested.
4 times the American champion. He was 7th all around at the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta.
And you know he's going to be very disappointed with his performance already. He carries a lot of weight on his shoulders for Team USA. And mistakes are not according to the game plan. Front handspring, front 1.5. He does look a little sluggish out there, which is not his normal style or form.
Americans are keying on Roethlisberger, trying to move up to the medal podium on the international stage. They've been 5th at the World Championships and at the Olympics.
Good finish for John, but you know, Scott, he's going to be very disappointed with the score. He's a leader for this team.
There is the Minnesotan and the captain of the American side, so to speak, John Roethlisberger.
I'm sure you would have liked to rest a little more after the warm-up performance. This is his last line, back on track completely, but it's the first line that's going to hurt.
Well, a tough go for the veteran Americans, 7.950 as they get started on the floor exercise, and not the start they wanted. A Canadian veteran who has to take up the slack today at the Pacific Alliance Championships. This is Kris Burley, originally from Truro, Nova Scotia.
I'm sure he would have liked his buddies here, Jelkov and Schmid, to pull a bit of the weight, but Kris is a very talented athlete. Unfortunately, he's definitely struggling there. And like Richard Ikeda, Kris has excellent form and execution that always impresses the judges. Back toss, stutz, showing good control until that moment. He's trying to balance both hands and his entire body on one bar. This is going to be very costly for the Canadian, Scott.
20 seconds. Disappointing national championships in Hamilton for Kris Burley. He finished 8th all around, but has been struggling through some injury problems.
And he has so much potential. He needs to get down to business, get those injuries healed. He's back on track. Beautiful stutz. When he's on, the performance is gorgeous, but we need him on more often. Through to a double pike, but that's going to be a devastating blow to Team Canada.
The 1995 Canadian champion and an Olympian, an 8.2 as Kris